Oh man, you know how Axe Cop has the mentality of a 5-year-old behind it? It's intentionally goofy and over the top and bounces around narratively with tone and all that. Now imagine that level of almost apathetically lazy and banal storytelling and make it entirely straight-faced. Then suddenly you have Fight Iczer-One. Yeah, this bloody damned iconoclast has taken shots at some more old crap that has been well-loved for whatever reason, but hear me out. When it was all we had, it was okay. It's 2014. Storytelling has advanced. And, well, I'll admit that I have some shows that I love because of nostalgia goggles. I'm also perfectly able to accept that they're inherently flawed. So when I start calling out shows like Bubblegum Crisis or Fight Iczer-One, it's because I'm holding them to standards of generally good shows. A lot of these old OVAs do not cotton to these standards, and I will razz them accordingly. So before I get any farther, I just have to say that I will give Iczer-One credit for having a protagonist that reacts like one would expect when presented with her entire life falling apart around an alien invasion. Sheer panic and utter denial. Nagisa does precisely what we would all do in this same situation, and that's pretty well the only good thing I have to say about the story. My main beef with it is that everything around the situation seems to run on pure cliché power. Stop me if you heard this one before. So there's a rogue alien running around from the Cthulhu race, and she's chosen our heroine to assist her. The problem is that she's a creepy stalker, and these aliens tend to make their victims turn into gross body horror critters. So yes, put the kids to bed before you watch this one. Look at that splatter. And you know what's sad? If I showed you what happens with Nagisa when she gets into the robot, I'd get smote from on high. But all this gore? Pfft, fine. So here we are, Iczer-One, serial stalker and all-around weirdo, up and deciding that she's gonna make this girl pilot her giant robot with her because... reasons. Whatever happened to, hey, I need a hand? Now I know this used to be some sort of LGBTQ darling back in the day because one of the main antagonists loses her lover to Iczer-One and Iczer-Robo, which just ruins her f***ing day like you wouldn't believe. Like, that shows either a very early glimpse of inclusivity, or it's just there for fan service. Yeah, it's just fan service. Every line of dialogue in this is some sort of weird cliche or stock dialogue phrase. Iczer-One has powers as the plot demands, and people burst and explode like overripe fruit all over the place. It's like reading one of those crappy indie comic books that tries to be really dark and edgy, and the whole thing comes off like it was written by an angry 14-year-old trying to prove that he's really cool. Unfortunately, this is a 14-year-old art student who at least knows how to draw mecha, but that does not excuse shoddy writing. It breaks down like this, and let me see if I can bring out my inner 14-year-old once again. Yeah, so it's like about this space warrior who comes to Earth, but she's like all hot and stuff. She fights like Cthulhu aliens who want to take over the world and make people's brains disintegrate and stuff. Plus she's got like this cool robot. Her partner gets all naked and stuff when she rides it. It's like vengeance and darkness and blood and all that cool stuff. I got the idea after watching Blood Fist 2. And like, they're totally lesbians, because that's awesome. So yes, the show is not only dumb, it's exploitative. Not really a shocker since it was made in the 80s, but that doesn't make it any less tiresome. Seems like they just went by a checklist at this point. Boobs, check. Blood, check. Robots, check. Story? Leave it out. In the grand scheme of crappy B-movie anime, this is one of the better looking, at least when it comes to robot fighting and monster designs. It's like something from the Asylum getting their monsters from Jim Henson's Creature Factory. So much effort, so much work, into something so banal and over-designed it's almost criminal. Honestly, the people I feel the worst for are the people who keep sending out these super weapon ships that just keep getting nuked like they're paper. The one shining grace of the whole thing is that, as far as cell animation is concerned, it still looks brilliant. The monsters and robots all look like they have weight and mass to them, the designs are relatively uniform, which makes sense given their origins, and everything that isn't Iczer-One or the people she fights look like they belong in this universe. And then there's our elfin heroine in a pink jumpsuit that is not doing her any favors. Like, I could do an entire show on the fashion disasters of anime in the 80s, but it'd be like calling Taiga from Toradora gross-ass Lolita. It's too easy of a target. Tonally, this is dark end-to-end, and I'm sure someone just got a stiffy off of that. But listen, just because something is dark doesn't automatically make it good, just like lighthearted is not bad.
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
That was a joke, not a design philosophy. Watching things that are unrelentingly ghastly and thinking that makes it deep is the same kind of half-witted buffoonery that gets stuff like Akame ga Kill or Shikabane Hime made. Those are not good shows. They really aren't. Maybe if you're a 16-year-old who wishes desperately to be taken seriously, this stuff is worth a watch. But for people who have functioning adult brains, then they're nothing more than an amusing side note at best. Stop conflating dark with good. More specifically with Iczer-One. The whole show falls just entirely flat because there's little to no happiness to it. It's miserable end to end. And if your favorite comic book character is Spawn, maybe you're just fine with that, but really, what about this is sounding fun? So here it is, Iczer-One, loved by some, hated by me. In an anime world full of flimsy protagonists and cliches, I thought for a moment the old stuff might have a little bit more kick to it. But it turns out that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Avoid this one, and for the love of God, watch something with some class. If you like what you saw, consider donating to my Patreon to get early access to all the new vids as they come out. And as always, thanks for watching.